It's the book club for kids.
The book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids.
It's the book club for kids podcast.
Hi, I'm Kitty Felde. Did you ever think that you were a little different from everybody else in school? Suppose you found out there's a reason for that, and the reason is that you're actually a witch. That's the story of the OK Witch.
I did something by accident with my brain. It was like magic? Yes, how did you know? Sweets, it's sort of, genetic?
That's our celebrity reader, actress Diane Adair. The author, Emma Steinkellner, has a long history with Book Club for Kids. Emma is also the creator of our podcast logo. Students at Virginia Road Elementary School in Los Angeles had a magical opportunity to interview Emma.
Which part do you like most, being the author or the illustrator?
Ooh, I really like doing both things together.
This is the Book Club for Kids, the show where kids talk about books. We'll tell you how you can be on the show a little later on, but first, let's meet our readers.
Hello, my name is Oscar.
Hello, my name is Flor.
Hello, my name is Melissa.
Hello, my name is Jada.
Hello, my name is Derek.
And we're all 5th graders at Virginia Road Elementary in
Los Angeles.
So the book is called The OK Witch by Emma Steinkellner. What's it about?
It's about this young girl named Moth, where she talks about her normal life, but then when she goes one day to middle school on Halloween, she dresses up like a witch.
And she started getting magic out of nowhere, but she didn't know what it was, and then she told her mother. And then her mother knew what it was all about until her mother told her that she was a witch.
She was getting bullied at school, and she accidentally used her powers.
And then Moth asked her mom if she could teach her how to be a witch.
But her mom doesn't want her to do witch stuff because she thinks it might be dangerous because her mom used to be a witch, and when her mom was a witch, she would get in trouble and, not do bad things, but, get in trouble. And she thought it wasn't safe.
And Moth found a cat, Mr. Laszlo. He taught her how to be a witch and encouraged her to do all these things for her to learn how to be a witch.
Who were the characters in this book?
The characters were Moth, Sarah, her mom, Mr. Laszlo, and the Crammers.
The Crammers were witch hunters. Moth's grandma was a witch too.
Are these scary witches?
No, they are not. They don't do bad things in the story. All they usually do is help out people who really need help in the book.
Also, Moth's mother makes people fall in love with each other. If you see her, follow her to a bridge where you will find a great friend, a person you can trust. And the karma started hunting her and her family and other witches because they bewitched his son Peter as he thought. So they started the Founder's Bluff witch hunt.
Well, let's hear a scene from the book where Moth talks to her mom about a particularly bad day at school. Our celebrity reader is actress Diane Adair.
Moth, it's 10 a.m. Why aren't you in school? Mom, something really weird is happening. I was in class, and then my stomach started to hurt real bad, and then I got really dizzy, and then... Oh, sweets. Is this ladies' business? Oh, my gosh, Mom, no. I did something by accident with my brain. It was like magic? Yes, how did you know? Sweets, it's sort of, genetic? Surprise. I'm a witch? I know, it doesn't make sense. No, Mom, everything finally does make sense. I always thought I was just weird. And you never told me? Like that would make you feel less weird? I didn't want to scare you. Scare me? Have you met me, Mom? I love witch stuff. So, what's the real reason you didn't tell me, huh? I was just trying to be a good mother. By lying to me for 13 years? Wait, why is all this happening just now? My hands and the glowing and the magic? Explain. Well, you're not the first hush to get her powers at 13. But since you're only half witch, I hoped it might skip you. So my dad wasn't he's not a part of this at all. What happened at school was first magic, a spell your body does on its own when you feel something strongly. When I was 13, I accidentally cracked a fence with my eyes. When my mother was 13, she sent a live pig flying a mile away with her mind. Yikes. That's all magic is? Mistakes and pig throwing? First magic. Then you learn to control it. Perform more advanced spells. Spells? Oh my gosh. Teach me spells. I'm really out of practice, Ladybug, and besides, it's not a good idea. I'm a witch. I need to do spells. It's my birthright. This isn't all fun and games like your cute magic school cartoon, Magic Cutie Academy, and its anime. Exactly. Real life witch stuff can be complicated. What's so complicated about the coolest thing to happen in the history of ever? Being a witch isn't always cool. It's usually the opposite. Being a witch can put you in a lot of danger. Like way back in the Founder's Bluff witch hunt? Oh boy. What? Sweets, Mommy looks a lot younger than she actually is, and it's not just because she moisturizes regularly. Okay, like how old? Like I was born in 1676 old? Ugh. My mother, Sarah Hush, was part of an order of witches from an island city in the Bay of Biscay. In the final gasps of the witch trials in Europe, their home was attacked. Sarah and her order had to escape across the sea. The journey here was brutal. Many witches were lost. My father was lost. But my mother survived with her two closest friends, and with me still growing inside her. She always survives. They didn't know what to expect when they came ashore. Would the people here want them dead? Would they be welcoming? Would they at least leave them alone? They hoped they might find peace in this new land, but they were wrong. My whole childhood, we were never welcome in Founder's Bluff. Judge Nathaniel Kramer hated us. He wanted everything in Founder's Bluff to be exactly his way. A town of sober, obedient, lily-white pilgrims. And he especially hated Sarah, and he hated what she could do because she could make miracles. We all could. And as much as Judge Kramer tried to stop it, the townspeople wanted our miracles. They would come to us to buy a charm or to be healed or to get their fortune told. They never accepted us, but they tolerated us when they needed something. So you did amazing things for the town and they were just jerks to you? That's not fair. Jerks ain't fair, kid. I've lived in the 17th century and the 21st century, and I know one thing for sure. If you're different, people will be horrible to you.
How would you describe our main character? What is she like?
Moth was a teenager in her teens. She was very curious about certain things and a good person.
She's funny and she wants to do all this witch stuff.
She didn't like to listen to her mom. She liked to find out things. So she went into her mom's diary and she found out everything in the past.
And she could see in the diary her mom had kissed a boy, and that was her dad.
So Moth and her mom have a special relationship. Is it like your relationship with your mom?
Kind of. Because I tell my mom almost everything.
It's kind of the same relationship for my mom and me because every time I almost tell her everything, and when I tell her every problem, she tries to solve it in a way.
Moth doesn't always do everything her mom says. What about you?
Sometimes I don't do what my mom tells me. Like if she tells me to not play with a certain friend, I would still go and play with that certain friend.
Do you get in trouble?
No, because he doesn't know.
Oops, she will now.
I am the same thing. Sometimes I play my phone when I'm not supposed to, and she sometimes sees me and says, "Stop, okay," and I tell her, "Okay," but I continue.
When my mom tells me to, like, put stuff in my lunchbox so I can have lunch for school, I just don't do it because I'm just too lazy or I just don't want to do it. So I just lie and say yes.
How much did you guys know about witch trials before you read this book? Because they actually happened in the United States on the East Coast in the 1600s. Did you guys know anything at all about that in your history classes or anything else?
I only found one book about it, so I thought, oh, it's fake.
I only ever believed in, like, ghosts and spirits and stuff like that.
I used to, like, believe in witches and, like, spirits and ghost stuff at 3 a.m. But then I felt like it was just, like, video editing and not actual witch stuff and magic.
What kind of magical powers do you wish you could have?
Magical powers I would love to have is invisibility, because I would be hard to see.
A magical power that I would like to have is mind reading.
What would you do with that power?
I don't know. I honestly just think that I would, when in certain tests, I could just cheat.
My magical powers I would have would be freezing, because I don't like hot that much. I like the cold a lot, and I can make it snow, and I would play with snow.
My power would be controlling time, because that means if we were about to do a test, I could just pass the time so we didn't have to do that test. And then if I have to do my homework, I would just skip it. Or if I don't want to wake up in the morning, I just can pause the time.
I would have firepower so I can, like, make it, like, summer so we can always, like, play in the water and stuff. Like pools, water balloons.
Well, shall we invite our wonderful writer and illustrator to join us, Emma Steinkellner, who, by the way, we should mention, is the wonderful artist who created our logo. So you guys got some questions for Emma?
What mostly inspired you to do this book about witches?
I have always loved stories about witches. I love books, and TV shows, and movies about witches. And I always have all the time when I was growing up. I loved Sabrina the Teenage Witch and a series of books, Juniper and Wise Child, about a girl learning kind of witchcraft and plant magic from her mentors. And I wanted to write a book about a girl who loved witch stories like that, but thought that they were all make-believe, that they were all made up, and then it happens to her. And how does she deal with that now that the stories that she has always been reading and watching and enjoying, now that they're happening to her, it's a little bit more complicated now that it's happening in her real life. And I wanted to do a story about witches and magic, but I also wanted to do a story that would involve a lot of history and that would ask a lot of questions about what are the stories about history and about our past that we are told, and what can we dig into a little bit more and learn a little bit more about, because something that I was thinking about while you were all talking about the book is that there are a lot of different stories told in this book, which is one big story on its own. But you hear Moth's mom's story when Moth goes into her mom's diary. You hear the version of the town's history told by the Kramers or told in the school play that Moth and Charlie do. And there's lots of different stories told, and some conflict with each other. Some are two different versions of the same story, and then it's up to Moth to kind of concentrate and focus and listen to her heart and work hard to figure out what is this version of history that she wants to believe in and that she wants to move forward with, and how is she going to act now that she knows the truth. And that's something that I wanted to let the readers ask those questions and figure that out on your own too.
All the characters, the names, are they part of your family, the names, or friends, or did you just make the names up?
It's sort of a combination, a mix of all those things. There are some names that totally came out of the blue, like Moth Hush. I have no idea where that name came from. Once I had the name, I sort of built a character around it. And I wanted Moth, who's this character who's a little bit nervous and a little bit jittery and very excited, like a moth is. If you've ever seen a moth kind of flying around and they don't really know where they're going, and then they eventually figure out where to land. And that's kind of like Moth Hush here. And then her mother's name is Cal, but it's short for calendula, which is a type of flower. And it's a bright yellow flower, because I think of Moth's mom as a very kind of bright, energetic, charming person. But calendula, the name of the flower, is a Latin word that means little calendar. And I thought that would be kind of cool because she does a lot of time traveling and a lot of playing throughout history. And then the Kramers, there was a book called Malleus Maleficarum that was written hundreds and hundreds of years ago by a man named Heinrich Kramer. And it was a book all about how to hunt witches and how to spot them in the real world. And that was during the European witch trials, which went on for a very long time, much longer than they did in America.
What inspired you to do the pictures?
Usually I write the script for the book first, but while I'm writing the script, there's sometimes when I have to draw characters so that I know how to write them. So I had to do a sketch of Moth and draw a couple of expressions she would make before I could write any dialogue that she would say, because I had to know how it was going to look. But then sometimes the writing comes first. Sometimes I'll write a whole scene, and then I'll draw it much, much later. So sometimes the writing inspires the drawing, but sometimes I draw something first and it inspires the part of the story that I'm going to tell or the character that I'm going to create.
Which part do you like most, being the author or the illustrator?
Ooh, I really like doing both things together, but sometimes it's a little bit more relaxing for me to illustrate. When I write, I really have to focus, and I really have to not do anything else and just for days and days just be by myself and write and think of ideas. And when I'm illustrating, especially when I'm doing kind of inking and coloring my pictures, I can watch a little bit of TV or listen to podcasts or music, so that's a little more relaxing for me, but there's definitely parts of making art that aren't quite as chill and relaxing. But I really like doing both together.
If you had a choice, which author would you like to work with?
When I was younger, there still is an author and writer named Gail Carson Levine. She wrote a book called Ella Enchanted, and she also wrote books of sort of short story fairy tales that I really, really loved reading. And so I think I would probably pick her.
By the way, we have one of her books is one of our Book Club for Kids selections, and we'll put a link to that on our website, bookclubforkids.org.
I have a question. Which author inspired you the most to actually write books?
Let's see. I come from a family full of writers, so the writers in my family inspire me. But when I was growing up, like I said, Gail Carson Levine, Sachar is an author who writes really interesting, funny mysteries and books about school and books about kids dealing with problems that are a lot bigger than they should have to deal with, or even a lot wackier than they should have to deal with, and those were always really fun for me to read too.
This book isn't just words, it's illustrations as well. So talk to me about the art and how that either helped or made the book different.
The illustrations made the book more interesting because it showed what they were doing and how they did things, and it showed what it would look like if it actually happened, but illustrated.
This book gives enough illustrations, way more than enough, to make us picture and believe what it means, and it's so colorful.
Well, let's ask Emma the hardest question. What is your favorite book, Emma Steinkellner?
Oh, my goodness. When I was in 5th grade, a book that I really loved is called Little Women by Louisa May Alcott. And it's an older book about 4 sisters and how they grow and change as they grow up and how they kind of grow apart from each other in some ways and stay close in other ways. I read it when I was first in 4th grade, and I've read it several times since then. I think about it a lot, and it makes me very happy.
My favorite book is Ghost, but in Spanish, because it shows about ghosts, and I kind of like ghosts, but not in a scary way, but in a fun way. It helps you like como celebrate Dia de los Muertos.
I like the first season of the Spiderwick Chronicles because it was about mystery and like magic.
My favorite book is the series of Dork Diaries because I like how it tells me about what her teen life is.
The book I like is Sisters by Raina because it talks about how she and her little sister Amira get along.
My favorite book would have to be the same as Jada, Dork Diaries, because the books are like fantasy, but they're not fantasy. The series is very funny, especially the little sister when she cooks.
What about you, Diane Adair? What is your favorite book?
2 books that I would recommend. One is probably for maybe 14, 15-year-olds and older. It's a book by John Irving called A Prayer for Owen, Meany. And John Irving, he creates characters that are funny, but also can be very heartbreaking. This is a coming-of-age story. And then the other book is called Bird by Bird by Annie Lamott. And if you like reading books, you might someday want to think about writing a book. And this is a book that talks about life and writing.
We'll have a list of everybody's favorite book at our website, bookclubforkids.org. And if you're a school librarian or a teacher, you can get your students on the Book Club for Kids podcast, too. All you need is a smartphone. Just click the Put Me on the Show button at our website, bookclubforkids.org, and we will send you all of the information. Thanks this week to producer Ilse Setziel and associate producer Hannah Matsecki. Brandon Baker composed our theme. Thanks to Emma Steinkellner, who not only wrote The OK Witch, she also designed our logo. Thanks to celebrity reader Diane Adair and our readers this week at Virginia Road Elementary School in Los Angeles, Oscar, Flor, Melissa, Jada, and Derek, and their principal, Evelyn Samos. This episode was made possible by Access Books, whose mission is to provide quality, high-interest books to inner-city schools, classrooms, and community libraries. We have a free newsletter for teachers, parents, and librarians full of free tips about how to turn kids into lifelong readers. You can sign up at our website, bookclubforkids.org. And if you're stuck at home or stuck in traffic, check out our other podcast. It's called The Fina Mendoza Mysteries, and it's the perfect antidote to the news at the top of the hour. I'm Kitty Felde. Thanks again for listening.